The 3v1 between Rika, Yuta, and Yuji versus Sukuna has taken full throttle in this chapter, and things are looking pretty good for the protagonist. It's about time Gege made us start to believe that there's actually a glimmer of hope in this battle as we get one step closer towards saving Megumi, but I'm jumping a bit ahead of myself, so let's go ahead and take it from the top as we see an explanation of Yuta's domain expansion and how it works. In Yuta's domain, all curse techniques he's copied before are stored randomly within the swords in the domain. Even he doesn't know which curse technique he will be able to use until he takes up the sword itself. One sword contains only one curse technique, however, there is no limit to the quantity of sword. Now, most of us have predicted more or less this is how it was going to work, so pats on back if you guessed correctly, in which, well, every sword that he grabbed was some copy technique that he has learned in the past. But what we didn't know is, given all the swords, he can use Thin Ice maybe a dozen times, and maybe he can only use his curse speech 2 or 3 times, but this is all to say he can keep on spamming all the curse technique that he has acquired given the amount of swords at his disposal. And does this live up to the expectations of a special grade curse user? I mean, well, when you look at Infinite Void, and then when you look at the likes of someone like Geto who had Uzumaki, even Kenjaku's barrierless domain, but I guess that doesn't really count with what I'm trying to say, to Yuki's crazy gravity black hole bending ability, yeah, Yuta's technique definitely lives up to those expectations for me. Anyway, we see Yuta sending out mini Rika Shikigami towards Sukuna, and as Sukuna sends them away, Yuji follows up with some punches. Sukuna does block them, but he feels his soul shaking again. And you'll see as you read through most of chapter 215, it's a lot of action sequences going on with a lot of interesting monologuing from the King of Curses himself, but we'll get to that in just a bit. Yuta then follows up with Uro's space bending curse technique. As Sukuna prepares to face it, he analyzes himself that he can't use his domain and his RCT remains sluggish due to his battle with Gojo. Now, this is the part where a lot of Yuta haters are gonna come out and say, well, you see, Yuta is impressive, but he's only keeping up with a 50% fully powered Sukuna due to the injuries of Gojo. And to that, I say, well, duh! What have you been reading this entire time? Look, to me, I rather take the narrative approach. All of the sorcerers have to rely on one another to take down the big bad. I don't like in shonen when it's up to only one sole individual that has the biggest power up of friendship that ultimately defeats the ultimate evil by themselves. No, I like how this works, and it fits with the mold and message of what Jujutsu Kaisen is all about. What Todo said to Yuji during the Shibuya incident arc, that Yuji, we don't got time to mourn the death of our fellow comrades. Right now, all you have to do and think about is that their death can't be in vain, and whatever sacrifice that they gave us is an advantageous situation to get the job done. So Yuta haters can hate all they want, but to me, this narratively fits into the style that Gege has been molding the entire time. Anyway, Sukuna continues and says that his total curse energy output now matches that of Yuta. On top of that, maintaining Hollow Wicker Basket renders him unable to use the world bisecting dismantle after extending the target of his technique, which we know Sukuna likes to play with his food, because one of the biggest things we wanted to know after he ended up using that dismantle after Kashimo is that, well, why didn't he use it on the sorcerers coming down on him? But knowing how Sukuna operates, I guess it makes sense that he didn't really want to use it and would rather, well, and live for the thrill of battle. And even admittedly, he said, well, once everyone is defeated, he would activate the merger in the event to see if he can actually take down that thing. We see Rita throw Yuji like a missile towards Sukuna as he evades it. And once again, there's plenty of great choreography happening in this chapter. Sukuna even admits that Yuji can sense the realm between Sukuna and Megumi's soul and strikes towards that. Yuji's trying to obstruct the tuning of Sukuna and Megumi's body by waking up Megumi's soul that has been sunken deep within the bath ritual. Sukuna realizes that every time he receives an attack from Yuji, his curse energy output drops and his control over Megumi's body dulls. This is huge, major news. We see it right here. Now even Sukuna is definitely saying out loud for the readers to understand, yo, these punches I'm blocking from Yuji, no, they're distracting the soul. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say we are 100% going to see the return of Megumi come out. Without giving time to breathe, as Yuji tries to attempt to twist one of the arms of Sukuna, that's when Sukuna tries to gain the upper hand, and this is where we see Yuta now mimic Inumaki's curse technique as Sukuna remains immobile and gets another full frontal attack from another thin icebreaker. However, this time Sukuna counters immediately by sending slashes towards both Yuta and Yuji. He then kicks kicks Rika in the face and attacks her with slashes too. Sukuna once again monologues, saying to deal a fatal blow, he just needs to touch them and cut them. It's not just because his curse energy output is low due to the battle with Gojo, it's just that Jujutsu Tech has upgraded defensive capabilities, admitting to Yuji's RCT, not to mention the domain expansion that he's currently dealing with, and even compliments Yuta that his sure hit effect is only being applied to Sukuna himself and not Yuji. And it's curious to know, is this how it always was from the beginning, or did Yuta during the 30-day time skip learn really how to hone and sophisticate his barrier technique? Once again, just how he praises Higuruma, there's something that happened in this 30-day training arc that I wonder if we'll get a flashback to at some point, if at all, that show the tremendous growth of all of these sorcerers. And you know, we get a funny panel here where Sukuna ends up smirking, saying, "What have you guys been doing during this entire month?" With Yuji saying, "Hard work and determination," and Yuta saying, "We cheated," and then both of them looking at each other like, oh. This is a serious moment, but we get some light comedy sprinkled in, and this is the exact comedy I like sprinkled in with my Jujutsu Kaisen chapters. We can see Sukuna smirk and be smug, but I do like this moment where we see this fantastic teamwork between Yuji, Yuta, and Rika, and both of our protagonists have a differences of cool defiance to say towards the antagonist, where Yuji's like, yes, and Yuta's trying to be a little cool here, saying, nah man, we cheated just like you, screw off. More importantly, this is where Yuta thinks if Gojo had not left lasting after effects on Sukuna, they would have been instantly killed without having no time to use RCT, as Yuji immediately thinks to himself he's scared to even imagine what would happen if they just don't put an end to everything here. There's some people who might think the battle between Gojo and Sukuna has meant nothing for Gojo's character, and yeah, look, say what you will about Gojo versus Sukuna. Because of this moment, Sukuna is now down to 50% full power, can't activate his domain expansion, lost the Kamatoke thanks to Higuruma, his RCT got severely nerfed, and if there was ever a moment to think this could have been the final battle as Yuji thinks, unfortunately I still think there's going to be a little bit more following this, and even albeit Yuta ultimately dying, but we'll talk about that in a second, as we see Yuta uses Charles CT and peeks into the future. He sees Sukuna's moves and quickly evades them and kicks Sukuna in the face, which I completely forgot Charles had future sight. I don't know why I'm thinking the man just reminded me more of Rohan Kishibe, and whatever he did to Hikari was like open up his brain, but no, this is just JoJo on my mind. I'm sure Charles did have clairvoyance, but this part is really interesting here because now Sukuna also wonders if Yuta copied Gojo's infinity, but pushes that thought away because it can be controlled only with the help of the Six Eyes. Now, what a really random and particular thing to say here. I wonder if Yuta will somehow use the Limitless despite overriding the rules, or the fact that the Six Eyes were just an inherited technique from the Gojo clan. Is there something we don't know about? Well, we did learn that Yuta is a far away descendant from the Gojo clan, or at least there is some type of familiar bond between the two clans, so who knows? Maybe he can, or maybe this is going off of the notion of what Sukuna said a couple of chapters back where Ui teleported Gojo's body away. Maybe they grabbed his eyeballs in a really weird demented way, Naruto style, and maybe put one of those Six Eyes in Yuta? I don't know. Look, I'm saying if I'm right, you heard it here first. Can Gege be that dark and twisted? Well, for the sake of saving the universe, I like to believe so. Yuta finally realizes that Sukuna will show an opening to a curse technique which he's been seeing for the first time, as he uses Uro's space bending ability one more time, and he tries to pierce Sukuna, but Sukuna grabs Yuta's sword once again, as Sukuna realizes somehow this mother effer has copied my curse technique, and I don't know how. So if there's anything we'll find out in 251 is specifically how Yuta's copy technique is going to work, but with the sorcerers looking very impressive in this chapter, I can't help but wonder if now when Sukuna is going to be driven into a corner where things are going to seemingly look good for the good guys, and I believe Megumi's body will be extracted out of Sukuna, if this is the point in time where we will finally get the reveal of what that Fuga, the hidden technique that Sukuna did way back in Shibuya, will come to light, and this will be the reason why this final battle between Yuta and Yuji and Rika will ultimately fail with, unfortunately, the defeat of Yuta. Look, don't shoot the messenger here. I'm just telling you how it is and the way my clairvoyance is trying to tell me, okay? But without a doubt, this was a fantastic chapter, and I do like Sukuna admitting that these guys are really giving me a tough time. So if you guys want to see more Jujutsu Kaisen content, you're going to want to click on this video right here.